Welcome to In the Know with Erika and Tracy. Say yes to less stress, the podcast where wedding planning meets peace of mind.
We're two seasoned wedding pros bringing you real talk, expert tips, and insider advice to help you plan your big day without the burnout.
Whether you are newly engaged, knee-deep in planning, or just love all things weddings, you're in the right place.
So say yes to less stress and tune in every month for your dose of wedding wisdom.
Welcome back to In the Know with Erika and Tracy. Say yes to less stress. Today we are diving deeper into one of the biggest misconceptions about wedding planning. With engagement season right around the corner, this couldn't be better timing. We want our couples to start planning their journey with clarity, confidence, and with the right support.
So if you're newly engaged or expecting that holiday proposal, listen up. Because before you say yes to a venue, there are some things you really need to know and understand. And trust us, hiring a planner first is one of the smartest moves you can make.
That's right, Erika. So in our last episode, we talked about some of the biggest misconceptions about what a wedding planner actually does. And we knew we had to, dive deeper into this conversation, right?
Yes, exactly.
So this episode will pick up right where we left off, and it brings even more clarity around hiring a wedding planner. Why hiring a wedding planner is so important, especially at the very start of your planning journey. So with that being said, Erika, what is some of the biggest misconception newly engaged couples have about hiring a wedding planner?
Well, first of all, I don't think they think they need to hire a wedding planner. So I think that's the biggest misconception. Just the value of having one on your team. I think the profession has appeared to be you snap your fingers, everything's done. And so people say, hey, why do I even need this?
Yeah, I think they feel that it's a luxury and not a necessity, but it really is a necessity to hire a planner. And these are some of the things we're going to be talking about today, just to kind of get you to understand that it's very important to have a planner.
It is so important, and we'll take a little deeper dive, but I experienced that firsthand that I really needed a planner when I got married. So I had been planning, but when I got married, I needed a planner. So I'll share a little bit more about that as we dive in. But I have seen, and I think I was probably like this too, Tracy, that a lot of people pick their venue first. And so why do you think that couples think they should pick their venue first and then the planner comes later?
So I think that, first of all, when they get engaged, they're so excited. They already had this vision of where they wanted to get married, whether it was on the beach or if it was a garden wedding. So they said, let's try to find our perfect venue so that they can at least knock that off their list.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, I really believe that they think planners are coordinators and they just show up on the day of. So they don't do anything else but just show up and help them execute their vision. However, I feel like we should start in the very beginning and help you find that perfect venue.
Absolutely. It's like that's where that whole day of planner comes in. And I think,
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that
yes,
that's
we
a
could
bad
talk about
word,
that.
right?
Yep. And I think that social media plays a big part in that, helping them feel like they can just plan, find their venue, find their inspiration, and then they say, oh, I need a planner. Or really, they don't feel they need a planner, but the venue that they chose says you need a coordinator.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
order to have your event here.
Right. And you mentioned social media, which I think that it does help to contribute to some of the misconceptions. I love social media. I have a saying, I love social media and then I don't love social media.
Exactly.
Because social media, it is a very great platform and avenue for us to see trends, what
Mm-hmm.
people are doing. But then on the flip side, it doesn't really show you all of the details. So I think about a lot of the planners that I look at, they have amazing work, but I don't think we really talk about what goes into that work. So
Mm-hmm.
couples don't really see the value add. So I think it helps to some of the misconceptions about they don't need it or as a luxury, you know?
Right. And I feel like planners will help determine the budget before they even tour the venue and help prevent costly mistakes
Yes,
like the hidden
yes.
fees, what the venue really offers.
Mhm.
Do they have tables, chairs, linens? And then also vendor restrictions.
Yeah.
There's rules and regulations that us as vendors have to follow in order to work at this venue.
Yeah, and often that's not gonna just be laid right out when you go to a venue. They're like, okay, in order to work at our venue, you have to have ABC.
Right.
Oftentimes, it's baked into that contract, and so
Mm-hmm.
I, those hidden fees, and it can be very daunting when you actually look at it. So we talked about being a planner and why you should hire it first. And you talked about touring and the
Mm-hmm.
budgeting. Can we talk a little bit about some of those hidden fees, Tracy? What have you seen?
Yes, so I'll give you an example. Just say a couple books a beautiful empty venue,
Hmm.
and the venue says, "Oh, $8,000 for this venue." And of course,
Hmm.
when you hear 8,000 for a wedding venue, you're like,
Hmm.
"Yes, I'll take it,"
Hmm.
especially if it aligns with your vision. So, but what they don't know is that chairs are not included, so that's a rental cost. Tables are not included, that's another one. Of course, linens, and then also you have setup, you have tear down. Who's going to do all that? You're going to have to hire someone to do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then catering.
Yeah.
Sometimes that particular venue say only these caterers are allowed to work in this venue. So
Hmm.
what if you don't align with that caterer? What
Hmm.
type of food, you're not really into what they're serving. And then you also have sound restrictions. Some venues say, okay, 10 o'clock, that's it,
Yeah.
music off, right?
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
$8,000 venue just became 22 plus
Oh
thousand
my
dollars.
gosh, girl. And we can even go on in addition to that. Oftentimes, like you said, they're looking at the prettiness of the venue, but not the logistics. And let's talk about
Yes.
ceremony. So I have a lot of couples who want to get married outside. They book their venue, but guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You got a DJ. Well, what I don't know the last time I checked, nature just does not have electrical outlets just growing out of the trees. So you got to
Yes.
think about that. Okay, where are the electrical outlets? And even with that, can they handle the wattage or the amps that the DJ's equipment has? So
That part.
yeah, I've run into that several times where they didn't have electrical outlets and we have to run wires. So even the DJ needs to know, do I need a 25-foot cord, a 50-foot cord? And those are things that just don't blur out in the discussion.
Right,
So
right. And us as planners, we see logistics and the couples don't. And
yes.
also there are hidden costs, like
Yeah.
couples book venues without reading the contract. Maybe they skim through the contract and go, oh,
Hmm.
okay, this is good. But they're not actually really realizing that there may be a service. Well, there is going to be a service fee, not maybe,
Hmm. Hmm.
but a
Absolutely.
22% service fee. You got tax. You have sometimes security fees. You
Mm-hmm.
have insurance fees,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mandatory that you use their valet or their parking company. That's an extra fee.
Can
Yeah.
we talk about that for a minute? That
Yes.
just floored me. That's something that's new to come on the scene. I didn't realize that venues, I had a venue who they're like, okay, you have to use our valet. And so my couple said, well, most of my guests are from out of town, they're Ubering. And they were like,
Hmm.
you still have to pay this fee.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I didn't know that was a thing like valet. And yeah, and you mentioned service fee, but another
Mm-hmm.
thing that I always get is about the tip. So um, I talk to the clients. I say, "Hey, do you want a tip?" They, "Oh, we pay the service fee." The service fee is not the tip. Do you want to tell them what the service fee is, my friend?
Well, the service fee is actually for the overall, um, what is it? The catering company, right? We're talking
Yes,
about catering.
absolutely.
So
Their
that
administrator. Yeah.
exactly. So tips are
hmm
separate, and then tips are also optional, but
Yeah.
we recommend you tipping your servers, right? The
Yes,
staff, the
absolutely.
chef, and other vendors. I don't know for you, like I don't really expect a tip, but I have been tipped in my career a
Yeah.
lot of times, but I don't
hmm
expect that as a planner. But I
Right.
do want to know like what other vendors expect tips or would be nice to give a tip to besides the catering servers.
Well, I've actually seen, and this has just evolved, that some vendors are adding tip into their contract. And one in particular that I've seen has been the hair and makeup, which I'm very surprised. And again, I don't knock anybody's business practices, your business practices
Right.
or your business practices,
Hmm.
but that has evolved. I've actually had two or three different hair and makeup artists who add the tip into their fee.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
something new on the scene. I don't know if you call it a trend or what, but that's
Right.
definitely, yeah,
Right.
I've seen that. So also, what are some vendor limitations that you've seen when working with venue?
So I'm kind of going through this right now with the venue where they offer everything in house. So they offer well, you have to use their DJ. They have
Mm-hmm.
florals, they have linens, they have rentals. So my client has to utilize what they provide. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like that's fine to have it all in house, but sometimes your client is not interested in your DJ. And that's a
Yeah.
big thing. The DJ and a photographer. Clients want to choose their own DJ that represents their style, right?
Mm-hmm.
That DJ
Right.
may be good, but can they look at their past work? That's what I notice that clients do. They will go on the DJ's Instagram, kind of get a feel
Mm-hmm.
for how they operate, or even on their website. But if the DJ is in-house, they don't even meet the DJ until it's closer to their wedding. And I just think that's a little kind of sketchy for our clients because they really want to maybe interview the DJ, right? But if they have a
Yeah.
venue that offers that and it's recommended and you have to use their vendors, that might not align with their vision, especially, rentals, florists. They
Mm-hmm.
might want to be able to choose someone that represents their vision.
Right, especially you mentioned about the DJ, so I want to talk about that a little bit as well. I do a lot of cultural events, and so they're looking for cultural DJs. And so, like you said, the in-house DJ may be very good, but do they have expertise in Nigerian music? Do they
Yes.
have expertise in Guyanese culture? And so that's one of the challenges that I've run up against, and
Hmm.
even when you said rental, so I know you're a designer. We're both designers. So
Yes.
that can be a challenge too, right? If they're saying they got in-house rentals, like
Abs-
what?
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because when I'm hired to design a wedding, I start early. I don't wait to 2 months before the wedding. We're already picking out what is needed
Mm-hmm.
for the design. When you have a venue who has everything in-house, you're not privy to starting early. You have to work on their time. So I'm running into a little hiccup when it comes to our clients choosing a venue first without
Mm-hmm.
knowing the hidden things that go behind that contract, and just it's so confusing and so not fair in a sense to the
Yeah.
client and to the designer. We can't design if we don't have access to looking at the linens,
Yes.
the furniture. We can't
Mm-hmm.
design off of that. So it's
Yeah.
very important. I feel it's so important to at least hire a planner first,
Mm-hmm.
if they're especially if they're designing. Most
Exactly.
planners do. And then let's go out and choose your venue.
Absolutely, because so I feel like it handcuffs me when they've chosen their venue and the venue has all of these requirements, and I know it's going to be a roadblock for us, like you said, not even being able to see their inventory until because
Yes,
they have their set schedule. Well, I need to see the inventory like early on in the design process because what if you don't have what our design requires? And a lot of times they don't. So that's
you're correct.
yeah,
You're correct.
yeah.
Yes.
So very important, like you said. Look, not because we're planners, but it is very important to bring the planner in on the front end of the process before you even pick your venue. So I think this is a good time for us to take a break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk about what planners and venue coordinators actually represent. So we'll see you
Absolutely.
in a minute. We want to give a big shout out to our amazing sponsors. Thank you to Flawless Weddings and Events for your incredible design and planning. A huge thank you to Flawless Flowers for their amazing arrangements. We also appreciate Erica's Elegance Weddings and Events for your creativity. Let's not forget our musical director, Tony Bowers. You keep the energy high for us. A big thank you to BYC Photography for capturing our special moments. And last but not least, thank you to our awesome team at Power of Praise Network. We appreciate your support. We couldn't do this without you. And to our viewers, don't forget to check out our amazing sponsors. Until next time, bye.
Welcome back to In the Know with Erika and Tracy. So, Erika, can you explain? Well, first of all, I know that we discussed this in our last episode about what's the difference between a wedding planner, wedding coordinator, and a venue coordinator. But can you explain again, please, what
Yeah.
is the difference?
Well, you know what? Everybody always thinks it's the same, and it is absolutely, they have distinct differences. So, the wedding planner or wedding coordinator is someone that the client actually hires, and your wedding planner is kind of like your A to Z. This is the person who you pull in, who walks through the journey from the time like a baby, the time the baby starts crawling till you get them graduated. So, that's the wedding planner. Now, the wedding coordinator, and I'm going to actually probably flip and ask you a question. So, I feel like this has kind of, I don't know, been a shadow for us, but the wedding coordinator is someone who typically you've done all of the planning as the client, and you just need somebody to pull all of the logistics in on wedding day and rehearsal. But in our industry, we've seen these coordinators been called day of coordinators, month of coordinators, and I just want to put a pin in it. What do you think about, is there a such thing as a day of coordinator? Meaning I literally come in a couple of days before your wedding and I'm able to execute your wedding. Share your thoughts on this.
So, first of all, we need to scratch that. We need to take that off of the internet. Day of coordinator, month of coordinator. There's no such thing. If you do hire a wedding coordinator, we actually manage your wedding. So it's wedding management.
Mm-hmm.
So we come in, no matter if it's 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, we come in, like Erika just said, you have planned everything, but we still would like to be a part of your planning process so that we know what it is that you are expecting to happen on the day of. So I'm not going to wait till a month before or even the day of to figure out what you have planned for me to do for you. So I like to come in early enough to still be a part of your planning process, gather all the information, offer you advice on what works well, and then create your itinerary for the day, and then work with your vendors, get to know them if I don't already know them. So on the day of, your day is flawless.
Absolutely. Even with that, friend, I need to read the contracts because oftentimes, even though the client has planned all of their things, there are some things in the contract, and a lot of my clients are very savvy, but some of the verbiage, like some vendors will put, I am required to take an hour break for dinner. Well, we as planners have to figure out how to bake that in to your timeline, because I can't have the photographer on lunch break or dinner break, which is in their contract, so they are allowed that, but I have to make sure that's not happening while you're tossing your bouquet. So I do think we need to scratch day of, month of. I used to call it month of, but now I've moved to wedding day management, like you mentioned. So,
but you brought up a good point about lunch breaks, dinner breaks. So we as vendors, we do take a break during the time the couple and the guests are eating. Have you noticed, and okay, let me just back up. I do this. I want to make sure that the photographer, videographer, and the DJ eats first.
Yes.
Because they have to finish up what they're doing as far as taking photos, playing the music and everything. So I like to make sure that they eat first. And some of the venues and catering companies, they agree, right? So they're like, okay, here's the vendor meals over here. But then you have some that be like, no, you have to wait until the end. And I'm like, well, they can't wait. I can wait because I bring food with me. So I can wait. But they need to eat, or even if they need to just take a break. So how do we address this with certain catering companies that they are important and they need to eat while the guests are eating so that they can get back to work?
Right. I think they first are in the mindset that the client is first. I totally agree with that.
Yes.
But in putting the client first, you have to recognize that the client has additional needs other than them just eating. And they need for their photographer to be fed, their videographer to be fed. I even wonder if this is a discussion that we have early on with the venue and saying, well, what's your process? And if they say, oh, they can't eat until the client, maybe we can ask the client. Because I've actually had to ask the client, okay, what do you want? And they, in this situation, they say, my vendors need to eat. They even ask for me to eat. And like, I'm like you, I'll wait to the end.
Right.
But the photographer, the videographer, because they need to capture those moments. So while the bride and groom are eating or the couple is eating, they can eat as well because nothing is happening then. So they don't risk missing anything. So, but you have some venues who are like, this is my policy. I think, I don't know if it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but we may need to pull the couples in on these discussions,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence why you need to hire a planner. I'm going to keep saying that, and I am not again, because you don't have to hire me, but you really need an advocate on your side, which brings me to the last one, a venue coordinator. So a venue coordinator, they are concerned with the property. So you have some who do planning as well. But at the end of the day, they're not looking at when you're going to get your hair and makeup done, what time you need to leave your get ready site to get there. Their goal is once you get on site, what happens? And so, you know, again, your process is your process, but a lot of times I've had clients, oh, I have a venue coordinator. They're going to handle everything. And I'm like, no, they're not. Like, you need to really see what they're going to handle. So I
Yes.
really would like for us to come together. Do you see us come together to
I do see us come together, but we have to start the conversation, right? We have
right.
to start the conversation and just kind of like maybe even do like a panel, get vendors together. That would be great. Because at the end of the day, we're community and we're in our industry. And I think our main goal, everyone's main goal, is to make sure that the client has a great experience, because this is one of the most important events of their lives.
Yeah.
Right. And they want to remember all good things.
Absolutely.
Not what goes on behind the scenes.
Exactly. Right. And so I love that. And maybe that's, you said it, that's one of our, we're starting a conversation now for those who are listening. And then we'll actually do a podcast. I think it's about educating and just coming together. So I love that idea. I love
and
that
I feel
idea.
like the final takeaways for this is, you know, hiring a planner first sets the tone for the entire planning experience, right? It really saves money, it saves time, it saves stress, and it protects their vision.
Yeah.
So hiring a planner is not luxury, it's a smart investment.
Yeah. You mentioned it saves money. I like to interject on that about how it saves money. It oftentimes clients don't realize that we have relationship with vendors, and I've had vendors sometimes say, okay, you know, this is your bride, I'm gonna throw in an extra bouquet. And so, you know, how have you seen your relationships help your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Just what you said, they'll throw in something for free, or they will, you know, do something extra, adding to what the design is. And then also maybe maybe a little discount here and there. So I have seen that. And I just love just working with people who I am familiar with. I love going to venues that I have worked before, and there's knowing their staff and knowing the good chemistry we have.
Yes.
Because like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about our client. It's all about them having a great experience for the most important event of their life. Yeah. So that is the common goal here. So if we vendors are sticking together and working well together, overseeing our clients' needs and wants, we got it made.
Yes, yes. I love a venue when they understand the assignment. Well, not just the venue, all of the vendors, when they understand the assignment, it ain't about you, it ain't about me, it's about we, so that we can help the client. And yeah, so,
for sure.
Yeah. So as we get close to the end, look, we seem like we could just talk forever, huh?
We can, and we definitely will touch on, you know, misconceptions throughout all of our podcasts, because that's an important thing, because I think clients do want to hear this. And even some of the vendors, some of our colleagues, they want to hear this as well on how we feel about certain issues that we encounter. So we would definitely touch on a lot of things per episode.
I'm excited about that. So as we wrap up, what's the first thing that you would tell a couple to do after getting engaged?
So I first, when a couple calls me for, you know, consultation, and they tell me I always ask them, when did you get engaged? And they tell me when they got engaged. And I was like, did you enjoy yourself? Did you take a deep breath? relax, let it settle in? Did it marinate? Did you, did you enjoy your engagement? Like, especially if they tell me they've been engaged for 7 months. I love that, because to me, that means you really settled in the engagement, and now you're calling me. So that's perfect.
Yes.
And sometimes they already have their venue, sometimes they don't. So with that being said, I first would tell them to take a deep breath and enjoy. What about you?
Well, look, I'm going to take some of your advice. I do tell them congratulations, but one of the first things that I encourage them to do is think about your budget, because when we talk about money can just not be the most favorite subject. So I'd like for them to really think about what their budget is, so then we can really hit the planning and know where we're going. So
I agree. Budget is so important. You got to know what you have.
Right. Which is why we're going to talk about that in another episode, right? So
that's right. I mean, Erika, we covered a lot today. I am so grateful that we have started this podcast. Everything that we discussed today was so worth talking about. These are the things that couples really need to hear. And so I'm grateful and honored to be sharing this platform with you.
Yes, same here. I'm so glad that you had this brainchild and pulled it together. So thank you. And we want to just thank our followers and thank our listeners, and thank you for joining us in the Know with Erika and Tracy. So remember, before you book that venue, say yes to less stress and call your planner. Bye.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us on In the Know with Erika and Tracy. Say yes to less stress. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with someone planning their big wedding day.
Until next time, say yes to clarity, confidence, and calm.